We're just testing to see if this sound works. Dan, let me know if you can hear me. And we're testing one more time to check the YouTube.
Hmm. Ashley, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear anything. I didn't know if my thing was working or not.
No, it's working.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, everyone. I just want to do a quick roll call to see I have all the board members on. So currently I can see that I have Superintendent Hoffman, Carol Crockett, Justin Rice, Jim Swanson, Mary Ellen Lee, and Hans Dieter Close. Are there any other board members on that I did not call?
Hey, Ashley, Eric Twist.
Thank you, Eric. Mary Ellen, with that, you do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. And I think we will go ahead and get started then with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we can move on to the roll call, please.
President Lee,
Here.
Vice President Close,
Here.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Here.
Dr. Crockett,
Here.
Mr. Mason, Ms. Rice,
Here.
Mr. Swanson,
Present.
Mr. Twist,
Here.
Ms. Yana. President Lee, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, just a few housekeeping rules regarding virtual meetings. Board members, please stay muted, and after each agenda item, we will allow for an open discussion and dialogue first, and then Ashley may go through roll call to see if any member has an additional comment or question, if needed, to ensure each board member is heard. Also, just as a reminder, please state your name before you speak. Charters on the agenda, please stay muted until the item is considered, and we will ask if the charter is available, and if so, the charter can unmute themselves at that time. And just as a reminder, the general public is viewing the meeting via a live stream. Normally, we'd move on to the superintendent's report at this point in time, but I'm actually going to make a motion. I'm going to move agenda item K1 and to place it as agenda item D for the board's discussion and consideration. If I could get a second on that, please.
Second. This is Justin.
Yes, thank you, Justin. And Alexis with the roll call.
Vice President Cloud,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you, Alexis, and thank you, everyone else. I know that there was a time constraint, so we just wanted to make sure that we were able to get everybody that wanted to be here at this time. Okay, so then this will be in regards to Pinnacle Education keynote, and I believe we have Joanna who's going to do our presentation.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and board members. Today, you will be exercising your authority outlined in the board's operational performance framework. Pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 15183R and Arizona Administrative Code R75403F, if the board determines a charter holder does not meet the board's operational minimum expectations, it shall consider the charter holder's non-compliance and may subject the charter holder to additional charter oversight as outlined in Article 6 of the Arizona Administrative Code, including issuing a notice of intent to revoke the charter contract. The charter holder being considered at this board meeting has received an overall rating for fiscal year 2020 of does not meet the board's operational performance standard due to having at least 6 of the 9 operational performance framework measures being rated does not meet standard. On February 26, 2020, board staff conducted an unscheduled site visit to Pinnacle Charter High School located in Nogales, an alternative school operated by Pinnacle Education Keno Incorporated. The purpose of the visit was to conduct the charter's 5-year interval review as required by statute and rule. During the site visit, several compliance issues were identified, resulting in the charter holder failing to meet the minimum operational performance expectations. The multiple compliance issues led to marking the charter holder's operational dashboard and requiring submissions to bring the charter holder into compliance. Several of the issues identified deficiencies in the implementation of the school's program of instruction, policies related to enrollment and attendance, maintenance of student records, and the charter's non-compliance with responding timely to these issues. Our staff is ready to answer any questions you may have related to this site visit. Outside of the issues identified during the school site visit, the charter holder was also out of compliance due to the findings from the average daily membership audit conducted by ADE. The audit reviewed the average daily membership for fiscal years 2016, 2017, and 2018. Ms. Moreno from the ADE Audit Unit is here to answer any questions that you may have. Pinnacle Education Keno is a for-profit incorporated in 2003 for educational purposes. The charter holder is a wholly owned subsidiary of NGRM Pinnacle Incorporated, a for-profit corporation. NGRM services 3 associated charters and the charter holder as an educational service provider with payroll and human resources. Information on the academic, operational, and financial performance of all 4 charters is included in Appendix B. In reviewing the operational performance of all 4 charters, it was noted that each charter has received a corrective action plan based on the on-site monitoring conducted by ADE's Exceptional Student Services. Recently, the charter holder being considered today was issued a corrective action plan on October 23, 2020. Staff from ADE's Exceptional Student Services team are here to answer any questions that you may have. And finally, the charter representative board member, Mohammed Padella, is here to address the board and/or answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. I appreciate that. Board members, any questions for Joanna before we get started? Okay. And just like Joanna mentioned, we do have representatives from the ADM audit unit as well as ESS. And I do believe that they have to be gone by 9:45. And so if you have any questions for them, board members specifically, we might want to just make sure we hit those within that time frame. But with all of that said, is there a representative from the charter here? If so, please go ahead and unmute yourself at this time. And if you'd like to make any introduction, now's the time to do it. Oh, Mohammed, I think you are actually still on mute. Ashley, you might be able to unmute him as the, if you're the owner, whoever's the owner of the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, Dan, are you able to unmute Mohammed? I'm not able to.
Oh, there we go. Okay, Mohammed, I think you're unmuted.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Madam President, Superintendent Hoffman, member of the board. My name is Mohammed Padella. I am the charter representative and board member for Pinnacle Education, Kino Inc. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today. As you are aware, at MGR and Pinnacle, a group of school is one of the earlier high school in Arizona, which introduced blended learning concept in high school environment. Under your supervision, almost 2 decades ago, we are one of them, those introduced world of work curriculum in high school environment. Now, just recently, education industry changed its name as EK, and most of the schools and their community are taking benefits of it, and we adopted same terminology in our schools. Pinnacle Education, Kino, has been serving students in Nogales since 2003. It has provided quality education to its students for 17 years, and we are proud of its success over the years. After receiving the notification from board staff regarding compliance issues identified during the site visit, the board reviewed the information and provided our oversight to staff who work to correct those issues. We take seriously our responsibility and obligation under the charter contract, and have worked and will continue to work to ensure that we meet the operational expectation of the board. This is the first year that board staff has found that our school did not meet the operational performance, and we will work hard to ensure it does not happen again. We never had issues earlier. If we deep down analysis, the core reason of these deficiencies are related to late submission. As we all know that due to the COVID-19, when the entire nation was mentally distracted by health, safety, and security of their loved ones. Due to border area, Nogales significantly impacted. Our students and community members lost their loved ones. The late submission issues, which is the main and core issues, is directly related to COVID-19. Late yesterday evening, I submitted a response discussion of the issues outlined in the executive summary and providing additional information and contents for the board consideration. If you have any question regarding the compliance issue or the response, I would be happy to answer them. At this time, I would like to introduce the legal counsel for Pinnacle, Education Kino, Diana Redder, who is with me and today, and allow her to provide some additional information to the board regarding the special education service issue.
Thank you. Madam President, Superintendent Hoffman, and members of the board, my name is Deanna Rader, and I am with Rader Mayrose. I'm an attorney that has appeared before the board on a few occasions. I'd like to talk to you briefly about my involvement. I've been recently retained by MGRM and Pinnacle to assist with Kino. I have looked at and reviewed the on-site monitoring visit report from ESS. I've reviewed and I was quite pleased that there were strengths that were noted that included current evaluations and IEPs, secondary transition requirements that met secondary transition components that met the requirements, and the present levels of educational performance described the strengths and needs, and their goals were measurable. As an attorney that frequently works with charter schools on special education issues, these are very important components and more of the substantive nature of the education provided. The weaknesses have to do in large part with the procedural requirements. Previously, in the 2019-2020 school year, the school had been working with consultants to assist them with the procedural compliance. After last year's on-site monitoring and the compliance issues that were noted, MGRM and Kino took proactive steps to find another special education provider and consultant that could assist in correcting those issues. This year, they're working with STEPS, which I believe many of the board members may be aware of, as that program or that company services several Arizona charter schools. We believe this is a positive step and will prevent compliance issues in the future. I don't want to diminish the importance of special ed compliance. I do want to assure the board that currently the Kino campus does not have any special education students, and it gives them some time to review the files and the issues and make corrections necessary to serve special education students. Again, if the board has any questions, Mr. Padilla and I, as well as other individuals with MGRM, are present and able to answer any questions that you have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Board members, I'm going to open it up to you guys first. Are there any questions that you have?
This is Justin Rice. I just had a clarifying question to begin with. When you say that there are currently no special education students on the Pinnacle campus, I'm just curious if that means that there are no special education students physically present on the campus, or if that means that you currently have an enrollment of 0 special education students.
The current enrollment is 0. The reason it is the kids are not coming in the sites. They would like to do the work from home. So they are our online students. So they are in our online setting instead of Kino setting.
I see. And so how are those special education services being provided in that online setting?
See, our SDI instructors are teaching them through Adobe Connect. So face to face, they can learn. A student can learn from the teachers.
And
okay.
Sorry, Justin, this is Mary Ellen Lee. I just because we're on this topic, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna follow up. Mohammed, so what about like OT or all of those services? What's happening with those students specifically?
So we are providing same. We have the outsource company, third-party companies. They are coming and they're providing those services through electronically.
And did those students, just to get clarification, did they withdrew from Keno and enrolled in your online school, or are you just doing a distance learning program through it, but they're still at Keno?
No, they withdrew from the Keno to online because distance learning, it's not working in our school, but we are offering to the students same thing. But students,
yeah,
usually they like to go to online setup.
Okay, sorry, thank you, Justin. Sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you for the additional clarification. I was kind of trying to get there. I appreciate that.
President Lee, this is Superintendent Hoffman.
Yes, please go ahead.
Would now be a good time to hear, I'd like to hear from the ESS team on a little bit more detail about the nature of the ESS compliance issues?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
If we could have the representative come forward and give some clarification.
Good morning, Board, Superintendent, Madam President. This is Angela Odom with ADE Exceptional Student Services. I'm the Director of Program Support and Monitoring. We had a team that went out and we conducted a virtual monitoring in the fall, in October. It was a very small sample size. Some of those were students who had recently transitioned to an online program. So we did review those files since they are still in the Pinnacle system. And there was some non-compliance identified, which is what was noted in the written notification of findings, as well as the corrective action plan. So there are timelines associated with that. There's a 60-day timeline for fate prohibitive items, so items that are deemed that are potentially not providing a student a free and appropriate public education as it relates to special education. And then there's also a 1-year timeline for them to come into compliance with all items associated with their corrective action plan. So that's kind of where we're at with Keno right now, with Pinnacle Keno. I don't know if that helps or if there's more specific questions.
Yeah, can you just confirm if they mentioned that everything that was tied to exceptional student services, sorry, this is Mary Ellen Lee, everything tied to ESS services was procedural in nature. Can you confirm, I guess, maybe the validity of that?
So our monitoring system looks at both outcomes as well as what would be deemed procedural compliance associated with documentation. So there is an outcome-driven component that is an item that they do have that full year to come into compliance with. The compliance pieces are viewed from the documentation, and some of those could be deemed to be procedural in nature, but some of them could potentially play a larger role in terms of service delivery. So again, those fate prohibitive items, so those items that have to be corrected within 60 days, are deemed as such because they are potentially not affording that child a free and appropriate public education.
And then are you able to give me an example of what a fate prohibitive item is, just for those of us who aren't, living in the SPED or in the ESS world?
Yes, thank you. I apologize. So some of those items are what we call kind of big ticket items. There might not be a current evaluation. There might not be a current IEP. Some other items have to do with secondary transition. So as well as what we call an item that is kind of an overarching item where maybe when we're looking through a file, we may see one good example is if we have a child who's identified as having English as being a student who needs language support because they're not a native English speaker. Sometimes that isn't addressed both through the evaluation process as well as potentially through the IEP process. And then that would be an item that might require that 60-day correction as well.
Great, thank you for that. And are you allowed to give us any out of those examples, or any of those the ones that Keno is now on a corrective action plan for, or has the 60 days to correct?
I'm in my system right now trying to pull that information up. Because of the really small sample size, obviously I wouldn't want to give you any student specific information.
Right.
I'm trying to access that report to give you guys some ideas around what they do have outstanding for their 60-day items. My computer's not cooperating.
That's okay.
So I can try to pull that up here quickly. I don't know if there are other questions while I'm doing so.
Okay, perfect. Board members, are there any other questions just while she's getting that information?
President Lee, this is Jim Swanson.
Yes, go for it.
So I just want to get a little clarity on, as far as my term on the board, which is coming up on 4 years, I don't recall ever the Arizona Department of Education being involved in any of our work that we've done directly. So is this specifically related to the exceptional student services and some sort of complaint? I just want a little clarity on how we got where we are on this.
Madam President, Member Swanson, I'd be happy to answer that for you. So typically what happens is if ADE and any of their divisions go and do a review of any school within our portfolio, those findings are reported to our office and are marked on the charter's operational dashboard. And so that is what you are seeing here right now, with non-compliance being found with the ADM audit unit at ADE and also with ESS. And ESS and the ADM audit unit are typically on or available to present to the board if a school does come in front of the board with findings that are found by the Department of Education.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam President, this is Angela Odom. I have that information for the board.
Thank you so much. Go for it.
Okay, so the outstanding 60-day items have to do with the evaluation process, in particular ensuring that children were assessed in all areas of related suspected disability. And then there was also an issue around that one item that I indicated, whether the IEP is reflecting the students' needs to afford them that free and appropriate public education. Again, we did look at only 3 files because it was a very small sample. As I know that Mr. Padilla explained, they currently do not have students enrolled in the Keno location. These were students that had recently shifted to an online setting within the Pinnacle family of schools.
Great, thank you for that. And so, Mohammed, or if your representation, either one of you wants to answer, because I know you mentioned that the SPED issues were, or the ESS issues were essentially just technical in nature. It doesn't seem that that's the case. So, you know, ensuring that children were assessed in all areas is a huge deal. Issues around whether the IEP is addressing a student's need to provide FAPE. So can you maybe talk about that process? Because I know you're not just managing Keno, but as a whole, you're managing other schools. And so I don't know if there's issues at your other schools in regards to this. I know that obviously those 3 students, while they withdrew from this school, are now at your online school. So these processes are needing to happen. So is there something taking place at your online schools to ensure that this is happening now? And that those students are getting tested in the areas that they're supposed to be, and that the IEP is addressing all of the students' needs? Probably Mohammed, I would assume that you'd probably have to answer that versus your legal counsel would be my guess.
Mohammed, I believe you are still muted.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, yes, as Diana mentioned, that we hired a new providers. They are providing services to us, and we hired their services back in March 2020. and we are doing the evaluations. We are doing, we are following the procedures, whatever the board is required, and they are doing to fulfill the old requirements, whatever they needed for to give the education to the students. So we are working on it, and we are improving our deficiencies on the SPED area continuously.
Do you contract out for your special ed teachers? So did you get new special ed teachers?
See, yes, when we made the contract with STEP, they're providing the education also. For SDI instruction, they are providing. They are the 3 instructors. They're providing the education, and we have the other outside services for to provide different other to fulfill the student needs.
And who within your CMO is in charge of ensuring compliance for special ed, or do you contract that out completely?
We are completely contract out, but internally we have the staff, those helping to the to this provider. Because if reason it is that we are not getting the qualified people, being a small school, there is a SPED teachers are shortage in the not available in Arizona. So board decided to go to the contract basis. Therefore, we hired these services.
Got it. And do your other schools have issues with ESS that are in your charter management?
Yeah, it did happen. Yes. So that's the reason we gave whole contract to the STEP. We used to have our own department. So when we see that we are unable to find the qualified teachers here, and teachers doesn't want to stay in a small schools, so therefore we decided to move to the third-party provider.
This is Justin Rice. To follow up on that, I'm just curious, prior to contracting with STEPS in March of 2020, how long did you have the provider before that?
See, last number of years, we have before this contract, you mean, we have the different people who used to work here. In March 2020, we moved to the new contract. Before that, we have our own people.
Go on, please. Sorry.
Before that, we had our own employees and 3 consultants. They used to have part-time consultant. They used to work for other public schools. They used to come and provide the assistance to our department. Then after, when we got the criticism from the Arizona Education Board, then our board decided to move to the contract to the people, to STEPS, and we had a good name for this company. And effective March 20th, we started contract with them.
And just out of curiosity, with included in the contract with STEPS, I understand they're providing student services and things like that. Are they providing any education to you or the board in terms of how special education works and the requirements involved in that? I'm just curious if STEPS has been brought in to kind of clean up a mess, but there's no kind of surefire answer to making sure that as the charter operator, that the board and those that are involved directly with these students understand compliance matters and how to avoid the situation in the future.
See, they are providing 2 types of services. One is the compliance area, another was the education. They are teaching to the students directly. And another, they are also time to time, they're providing education to our in-house staff and executives and board members. And during their, we have the conferences, online conferences with them in those days. So we are getting PD professional day. They always provide the, some sort of the classes to us.
So, Justin, if I may, so Mohammed, I think, and I think the concern is, at least for me, sorry, this is Mary Ellen Lee, is that to not have somebody in your CMO organization, it appears that there isn't someone within your CMO that kind of has their finger on the pulse of special education. And while obviously lots of different schools contract out, ultimately it's a responsibility of the CMO, the board, right, the charter representative, to make sure that they have their finger on the pulse of this, that there's an internal audit that's happening, making sure that your special ed students are being serviced. And just to take the focus off just of special ed services, my concern is, just the comment you kind of made in your opening statement, saying that the core of these issues are due to timely submission issues. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Yes, what the core of the issues are much more complex than that. In fact, to get before us for compliance, it takes, you have to have 2/3 to not meet. And so that's why we don't see a lot of charters up here for non-compliance. You have to hit red in a lot of areas. And unfortunately, it appears not only did you hit red in a lot of areas, but then you weren't timely in responding to those, right? So the issue was not the timely response. The issue is that you're red in a lot of operational areas. And so when we see something like SPED or, ESS services, to not have somebody on your CMO that has the pulse on that, it appears that it's not just SPED. It appears that there's issues with ADM that someone does not have the pulse on. Do you have somebody, Mohammed, or maybe tell me what's your CMO's structure for internal audit? So in other words, who
have the internal compliance
before they come before the board and before they get to red?
Sure. See, we have the internal compliance officer. We hired another internal compliance officer. Now both they will work on this to monitor the guidelines. And actually what happened, the internal compliance, they are reporting to us every week now. And every month board is getting the report from the internal compliance, what's going on. Similarly, the SPED staff, they're providing weekly report to us, what they are doing, what they are not doing, what happening, everything. We are getting the reports from them, and we are submitting to the board, and we are monitoring ourselves as a charter holder, and my staff also looking on it. So we make sure that our students get the education, what is required, and so we strengthen our internal compliance area.
And is this internal compliance officer a new position?
Yes, they used to have one person. Now we hired another person who is joining us from December 1st.
Like they're joining you in the future. So they haven't, or last December 1st.
No, they're coming December 1st, the next 2 weeks. Because we have already one compliance officer. Now it's another compliance officer we hire, so they can work together and improve our internal issues.
And Mohammed, is it true that each of your charters under your CMO have a corrective action plan currently, or will have a corrective action plan? I'm not sure if Keno's is in force yet, or if it's getting there.
Yeah, the SPED area, as I told you that, yes. Especially for the SPED department, we have the issues they pointed out.
Okay. And can you talk to me about
only one school out of, we have the 4 schools altogether. Mm-hmm. WMCB is clear now. We have the 3 schools are remaining to whom we are working on it.
Okay. Talk to me about your enrollment, because it's concerning to me that you had about 102 ADM, then 72 ADM, and then 35 ADM. And while COVID obviously has hit schools, close to a 90% withdrawal is extremely high, even in the realm of COVID. So what's going on that students are leaving really en masse over the last couple of years?
See, if you look, when we started our school this year, we had 32 students re-enrolled. We are alternative school, students coming and going. Now we have 70 students. So now we have enrollment, 70 students we have. When we started back in July, that was only 35 students. They are coming back. And if you know that that local district school open in October, September or October. So people started late there, and so they are coming. They used to think the school are closed, but we were open. But local district school was open in October, right? In October, 19 October. So they were delayed 2 months. So students were not coming in journal. Now they're coming back.
And that's at the Keno campus, not at the online campus. So you're at 70 at the Keno campus.
Right. Overall, we have almost 550 students altogether.
So what have you been doing? Because when we see kind of a mass exodus, and I agree, I started in an alternative program myself, and it was always, once the big schools opened up, then we got the students came back. That is actually that's a normal trend. I mean, we didn't lose half of our student population. We didn't see a 50% decline by any means, but I do agree that you start the year off a little low, and then they trickle in. However, what does this mean for you guys financially? Were you able to sustain having that low ADM?
See, MGRM financially they are very strong in journal. Besides, they don't have the primary business of this. Although that we are the profit organization, but it's not a primary business for them. They are very strong financially, and they always support it whenever we have the liquidity issues. They always help us, and they are ready to help. And they are ready. In last discussion, when I was talking with them, and the board of MGRM is ready to help us continue next 2 years at least.
Okay. And where is the members of the CMO, where do they live? I guess I was a little concerned that you have a physical mailing address in New York. So do you guys primarily live in New York, or are you in Arizona?
I'm in Arizona because I'm traveling between Arizona and Texas. I used to live in New York.
Okay. And how much of your time is spent in Arizona?
Almost 90% now, because we moved. Technically, I moved.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your internal compliance officer, where do they live?
They're living here in Arizona.
Okay. So is most of the staff living in Arizona?
Yes.
Okay. And what are you doing for training for because you've had this internal compliance officer. It sounds like this person is not new. I know you're getting a new one in December. What have you done to take corrective action for training for your internal compliance officer? Because they've obviously missed a lot. Yes,
they attend some courses, which is provided by the training by the AZ, and they're working on it. They made framework for the training, and they are taking courses from different sites. Now mostly courses are available online, so they are taking those courses, especially for the internal control areas, internal compliance areas. And time to time we have the scheduled professional days we have, which we give the training to our teachers, our instructors, and our student service department. So they have their own schedule. Beside that, internal compliance, they're getting a special other courses.
Okay. So board members, I don't know if you have more questions. I guess just.
And one thing I would like to mention here, this is the spade issues is related to school year 2021. Just bring to your attention.
President Lee?
Yes.
This is Jim Swanson. If I may make a comment,
Yeah.
As I look at this, and one of the things we've been working on is, and kind of I always talk about is that, we have 3 important pieces to the charter school environment. That's the financial side, the operations side, and the academic side. And the state is putting our resources in the hands of operators to take care of our children and give them an excellent education. And you can't just have one piece of this done well. In this case, I'm not sure any piece is being done well right now. And in looking at what's going on with Keno, which is very disturbing, and the fact that issues were discovered and then not responded to timely is incredibly troubling to me. And then the decline in enrollment is also actually, it looks like the community is looking at the school and its performance and reacting to that. And then lastly, I just wonder on how these issues, how pervasive they are really in the other three associated charters as well. I looked at the data, but I just don't know if we've taken a deep look and we see more. So I'm just troubled by this. I feel like this school hasn't been doing its job for our community, and I'm concerned.
Yeah, Mr. Swanson,
Thank
thank you
you.
for your comments. I echo that, and that was kind of where I was going. Is my concern, when we see charters come with us with these operational issues, with mass operational issues, right? And then on top of that, now they're not responding timely, and now they have multiple charters that they're operating, right? So now, I feel like when we've seen these come in the past, they've been single site charters for the most part. So they've been able to put their time and efforts on that single site charter. The problem with this portfolio really is that you have multiple schools with multiple corrective action plans in areas that are extremely important. FAPE is a big deal. Enrollment is a big deal. Accurate attendance reporting is a big deal. And my fear is, while it sounds like steps are being taken, that there's just, I don't see a way where this school can get the focus that it needs when you have corrective action plans at all of your schools. And it doesn't appear to me that the CMO has their finger on the pulse is really the only way that I can say it in regards to what's happening. You have a person coming in for internal compliance starting December. That's going to take training. I'm not under the belief that the current CMO can provide that training to them, which means then they're going to have to outsource that training, which then that is dates that are available by ADE. So I don't know when that's going to take place. I have major concern for this school. And I agree that while alternatives do start with a declining enrollment, that it's not this much, at least in my personal experience at working at an alternative school. And so I have major concern that this school can get the attention and time that it needs.
Can I say something?
Sure, of course.
Yeah. See, if you look our trend, history, look last 3 years, we never had the problem. If you look the dashboard, we are green. We were green that time. Only it happens 2020. As far as the spade, we have the major issue in the spade area, which we are working on that. As far if we look deep down the other issues, the documentation was submitted to them, but late. It's not that documents were not available. We submitted to them, but late. You just pull out each and every items, except the ADM. As far as you look the ADM, the error of the margin is only 16.16%, 0.16%. It's not significant if you look at that analytical point of view.
So Mohammed, sorry, I just want to stop you. So
Sure.
You're saying that not having correct enrollment procedures was just because you were late? So you've always had correct enrollment?
We submitted the information, whatever they asked the information to us, we submitted too late to them.
Right. So I just want you to, I want to be very clear with you, Mohammed, that
Sure.
that being late is definitely egregious in regards to responding to the board. But however, that's not why you're here. You're not here just because you submitted things late. You're here because you had issues with your enrollment processes. You're here because you had issues with your ADM count. You're here because your fire marshal wasn't wasn't up to date. You're here because there was issues with teacher salary postings. You're here because your withdrawal forms were incomplete and concern about transfer processes with students within the network. So that's why you're here. Just unfortunately, instead of responding to those in a timely fashion, working with the board, you then decided to respond to them late, sometimes well past the extension that you were given. So I know my problem is you keep talking about the timely issue of this, saying that that's the main concern. And that to me is what's questioning the management of the CMO, because it's not that, yes, timely submission is an issue, but that is one of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things that you're here in front of us today. And so it's not about just responding to the board. It's about us having to decide, are you a CMO that can be proactive and making sure that you're not here again? And so if you keep telling us that it's because of timely submission issues, then that's where I'm having a problem of thinking that maybe you don't understand what these issues are. And if you don't have an understanding of that, then we have a major problem.
Sure, that see, if you look again, the fire marshal is not that fire marshal inspection was not there. Again, the fire marshal, we received the report late. Inspection was done. You can check with when they came and they see that it was already examined. We get the report late due to the COVID. We received the report late.
Right.
So again, that was a late submission. It's not the late submission. The reason it is the fire marshal inspection was done. The report.
Okay, Mohammed, I'm just gonna, I understand what you're saying, but what about SPED? Did you have, is ADE here because of a late submission in regards to SPED, yes or no?
No, SPED, no. We had the problem. We accepted.
All right, so what about ADM? Mohammed, what about ADM? Is ADM here because you had a late submission, yes or no?
See, ADM, you're talking about these points, the discrepancies on the ADM?
Yes, Mohammed, just yes or no. It was ADM here because you had a late submission? Or was your submission incorrect?
ADM, see, that is ADM calculation. Okay, so we do not have the control. We do not have the control for ADM.
I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one. ELL services. Was that an issue because you had a late submission? Is that what you're here for, or because you had issues with your ELL services?
The ELL service documentation we late submitted to them. The parent signature we submitted late because we provide late documentation to them. But it's not that we did not provide.
Documentation wasn't there. Your files were not correct. So that's not late submission. That's the fact that your files were incomplete, which is an issue with operation. And this is the point that I'm trying to get to, Mohammed, is that you think that this is the issue. And board members, I hope that maybe, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but the issue to me is that a CMO is tasked with, the board has to have faith in the CMO that they can understand these operational issues and report back. The fact that what's being presented today to us is just not truthful, that these are timely submission issues. And I have a issue with a charter representative who's digging down on that fact versus a charter representative who's coming here and saying, yes, we have issues with SPED. Yes, we have issues with keeping our CUME files clean. Yes, we have all of these issues, but here's the plan to how to correct them. I'm not sure hiring another internal compliance officer being trained by the same CMO that thinks their only issue is timely submissions is sufficient. And so I guess that's where I'm at right now.
President Lee,
yes.
This is Hans.
Can I say one thing?
We're gonna let actually Hans go, and then Mohammed, you can speak after. Go ahead, Hans.
President Lee, I appreciate your comments and the comments from the other board members. I've heard enough, and personally, and in the interest of time, I'm ready to make a motion if you're willing to entertain it.
Yeah, Mohammed, if you just want to, I said that you could speak. If you could just wrap up your final comment here, just take a minute or so to wrap up your final comment, and then I think we're ready for a motion.
Sure. See, I appreciate it for your help and assistance. And as far as we realized, whatever the discrepancies were there, we made the correction, and we are ready to work on it, and we are ready to continue to improve our internal control.
Okay. Thank you, Mohammed. Hans, is there a motion?
Yeah, I move to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter contract of Pinnacle Education Keno Incorporated for failure to meet the operational performance expectations set forth in the board's operational performance framework in violation of its charter and state and federal law. Pinnacle Education, Keno Incorporated, is given notice that it must comply with the requirements set forth in administrative rule regarding notice to the school, staff, parents, and guardians of the notice of intent to revoke and with required submissions to the board.
Is there a second?
Seconded by Eric Twist. Seconded.
Alexis, if you could do the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice.
President Lee, may I have the opportunity to explain my vote?
Please. Yes.
In looking at the dashboard and also to certainly echo President Lee's concerns and comments, as well as those of Mr. Swanson, I'm looking at this and looking at schools that came into existence in Arizona in 2003 and 2007. These weren't schools that popped up last year, or even this year, or the year before that, or even 5 years ago. This is no time for training wheels. Those training wheels should have come off a long, long time ago. And I completely echo President Lee's concerns with all of the compliance matters. And not only am I seeing compliance matters, I'm also very concerned about the lack of accountability that I am hearing from CMO. I'm really just speechless in terms of what I have heard today. And this kind of laissez-faire attitude that, well, we'll work on it. Well, we'll hire somebody else to work on it. And maybe that person will be competent, maybe they won't. But again, I go back to the time when these schools became part of our portfolio, and it's just unacceptable. So I'm going to agree with the rest of the board here. I am definitely in agreement with the motion by Mr. Close and seconded by Mr. Twist.
Thank you, Justin.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Mohammed, if you have any questions, Ashley, will you be sure to get in contact with Mohammed for follow-up on kind of what this means and what we've issued?
Yes, I will. There will be a notification going out.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. And we will now go on to the superintendent's report. Superintendent.
Thank you. Thank you, President Lee. Good morning again, board members, and happy Friday. We have to give recognition. We usually meet on Mondays, so I'm just happy to be with you all here today on Friday. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge the different native lands that we occupy today. My own home sits on the O'odham and Hohokam lands. Today, very sadly, I saw on ADH's website that Arizona's COVID new cases was the second highest daily record ever at 4,417. I take this very seriously, as we have already seen many of our schools close facilities due to outbreaks or fully transition to remote learning. Earlier this week, ADHS issued a new emergency measure clearly stating that masks must be worn on school campuses, on school buses, and during school-associated activities by all students, faculty, staff, contractors, and visitors. This strengthens the governor's previous executive order, which mandated that schools develop mask policies. We know that masks are a highly effective tool in mitigating the spread of COVID-19, and I encourage all schools to enforce the use of masks consistently. Later today, ADE will be sending school principals the holiday guidance that ADHS has prepared. The key points are to reduce the number of people, especially from different households, utilize virtual options, and to be sure to keep your mask on and socially distance even when you're around family. ADE is continuing to track school reopenings or now school status, whether it's open or transition to hybrid or distance learning, with the support of the county superintendents and the Charter School Association. Previously, ADE was asking for weekly updates, but to ease the burden on our schools and leaders, we are now asking for monthly updates. I encourage our charter schools to respond to Jake Logan from the Charter School Association to complete our monthly tracker. These data will help ADE and our stakeholders to understand the various learning modules that students are engaged in during this time, which will influence our priorities and projects moving through COVID-19. Yesterday, the executive board of the Arizona Interscholastic Association, or AIA, the body that governs our school sports, announced that they would pause winter sports until January 5th due to rising COVID numbers across the state. As a former competitive swimmer, I know how hard this will be on our school communities and especially for our student athletes, but I believe it's the right decision to make at this time. I strongly believe that a return to sports should be contingent on the public health metrics being in place for them to take place safely, and I will continue to advocate for that. On Wednesday, our school safety task force at ADE released their final report and model school safety plan. This diverse group of students, experts, and leaders came together to redefine school safety and protect our communities. I want to thank the Arizona March for Our Lives students and every other student, organization, and community leader who participated in this groundbreaking work to reframe school safety and create solutions to make every school community safer. To view the final report and model school safety plan, please visit our website. On a more positive note, we recently held our second convening of this year's cohort for our Student Advisory Council. It was a great conversation that was focused on the social emotional well-being, which was facilitated by Rebecca Astorga, who is ADE's School Health and Safety Program Specialist. The students shared their strategies for managing difficult emotions, and some of their suggestions included breathing exercises, listening to music, and even watching live streams from the San Diego Zoo. We also asked them what their recommendations would be for our schools to enhance social emotional supports for all of our students in our schools, and they had some great ideas. Just to share a few, they suggested some of their proposals were to implement mental health education, also to create in-person or virtual support group clubs. They thought it was important to educate students on relationship management and identify indicators of toxicity and how to handle those indicators. They recommended more school counselors to be available to help students, and also to implement more break times within their class periods. I look forward to continuing to share the amazing ideas from our students, from our advisory council, and also their recommendations within the School Safety Task Force report. It's evident to me that our students are in need of additional social emotional supports for themselves, for their peers, and their teachers during this challenging time. In closing, I want to wish everyone a restful holiday next week. I'm personally thankful for the collaboration with the Charter Board to serve our school communities, and I'm also incredibly grateful for our educators and school leaders who have worked tirelessly and truly gone above and beyond to serve our students and families. Thank you.
Superintendent Hoffman. All right, Executive Director's report is up next. Ashley.
Madam Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and board members, good morning, and I'm glad to be with you on a Friday as well. I used to update the board on some work that board staff has been doing and giving an update as to all of the work that we're doing with our schools as well, and thought this would be a great time for me to do that. I want to give you an update as to what we've been doing for the last couple of months and throughout the year. So at this point, staff has made considerable changes due to COVID, and that has really grown our processes and made us think about things a little bit differently. So instead of doing our required site visits on campus, we have instituted desk reviews. And at this point, we completed our desk reviews from last year. And then this year, we are doing full desk reviews of our first and second year schools. So we've completed 11 desk reviews of our first year schools, 8 of our second year schools, And we will continue to do that through the rest of the year. I believe we have 170 desk reviews for our 5 and 10-year charters. We've also done 50 targeted reviews. And so that is additional reviews for schools looking into compliance, and then also if there was any request from the board to do heightened monitoring. We also, with the executive order for reopening of schools, we did receive around 250 distance learning plans, and our staff has reviewed all of those distance learning plans. And that's a huge undertaking. We wanted to make sure that as our schools seek additional funding, that their distance learning plans met the requirements outlined in executive order. So we have completed that review, which we are happy to report on as well. Beyond doing additional reviews of schools and trying to stay out of our schools' way as much as possible, we have been working on continuing to improve our communications. So Serena Compass and the work of Joanna, we have been putting out more communications to our charters and to our stakeholders. You'll hear from Serena later today about the communications plan that she has put together. But in a nutshell, we are trying really hard to facilitate communication from other agencies to our charters, making sure our charters are informed about the requirements that are coming up, any helpful resources, and really just trying to be as thoughtful in those communications to our charters to help them succeed as much as possible. In line with that additional communication, we have really taken a step forward in providing additional support to our charters. We have increased staff. We've gone from about 11 employees to 15, and we hope to be at 18 in the next couple of months. And most of those positions are actually going to supporting our charters, providing information, doing our hope is more communication and really working with that academic team to do more site visits so we can assist our schools a little bit more as well. We also, as we submitted to the board a few months back, and also trying to support our schools, we have submitted a budget request that would help us to overhaul our online system. And I think not only would that reduce the burden on staff to not have to go back and forth with charters on just minute changes and confusion with our system, but it would also help charters to better track where they're at with our board as well. So our fingers are crossed, but that's one thing that we will be working on this next legislative session, is to get those additional funds to support the changes to our online system, which would then in turn better support our charters and the work of the board. From the financial framework perspective, we just completed our first year of implementation of that framework. We have learned a lot, and Andrea will present on the final rulemaking for some potential changes that we are suggesting to the financial framework and those processes. And really those changes are to help provide information to charters and make sure the expectations are clear. But then also we have changed some timing so that it's a little bit easier for our charters and it makes more sense on certain processes. We also are working on cleaning up our internal controls. From an internal perspective, we are going to continue to improve our processes. Hopefully, in that process, we will reduce the burdens on our charters as well and make our processes a little bit more seamless. So there's a lot of work to be had. I call it the continual improvement process, and hopefully in the next couple of months, our charters will start to see the improvement of those processes. I know we've been working on improving for the past couple of years, and I just want to continue that work. So that's just a brief update on the great work that staff has been doing and the work that we've been doing with our charters as well. Be happy to answer any questions if board members have any.
Board members, are there any questions for Ashley? If not,
Hey, Ashley, could you just,
Ashley.
sorry, go ahead.
Could you just, hey, Ashley, could you just speak briefly about maybe some of the processes that you're most focused on right now? Just one or two examples.
Yeah, so just a few examples is the rule changes to the financial framework. We also have rule changes to the complaint process that we are finalizing based on public comment that we received. And we have received around 200 complaints a year. And we are trying to make that process more seamless, more productive for both the charters and the board, and making sure that the information that we are receiving is one beneficial and informative to the complaint process, but also again reducing that burden on staff and the charters, but also giving the public that assurance that we are addressing those complaints. Some of the other processes that we're looking at is reviewing all of the amendment requests. So we're going back through, doing a review of their amendment requests, seeing what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what is information that maybe is out of date or the board doesn't use anymore, so that then that again will reduce burden on the charter staff having to submit that information. I think this the big project that Rachel and her team is going to be working on in the next couple of months, and unfortunately it was had to be placed on the back burner because of the pandemic, but what she's really going to start doing is start providing guidance and information to schools, making sure our communications about what our expectations are very clear, and potentially bringing some of our charters together to start learning from each other. We want to be that support so we can get ahead of some of the accountability issues that we're seeing. And Eric, if there's any other processes.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's really great.
You're welcome.
Yep. Ashley, just thank you so much. And just to board staff, something that I've always really appreciated about you guys is you guys definitely have a culture of constantly internally auditing and really trying to make processes better with the ultimate goal of just making things easier, more clear for our charters. And this is just a testament to that. I know you probably could have spent 3, 4, 5 hours telling us all the things that you guys are doing. And so I just appreciate all the hard work and willingness to always improve. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. And just to give a shout out to staff, they do it with a smile, and I know I sometimes drive them crazy, but I think you're right. It's an absolutely good thing just to continue to improve. So so thank you, staff, and thank you, board members, for supporting that work. I appreciate it.
Thanks. All right, now we have an update from Arizona Charter Schools Association. I believe Mr. Jake Logan is here.
Thank you, Madam President. Superintendent Hoffman, really appreciate the chance to do this today. I know the key to a good presentation is to keep it short, and we will for sure do that. Before we launch here, I do just want to validate what Ashley just said, particularly on the communication side. This team and the staff have been amazing as we've tried to figure out the twists and turns that the virus has caused for schools, and schools are kind of trying to figure out what to do and what the executive order means, and staff has gone above and beyond to help communicate that. And so we're very grateful for you all, and for one, your service on the board, but two is for the staff. They've done amazing. Madam President, with that, what we thought we'd do is just give a very brief update on two quick things today. One is we get a lot of questions about how has charter school enrollment been, not only relative to COVID, but also in the last few years. So Kelly Powell's on the line. He's our data research guru, one of the best guys in the state when it comes to the data side of things. We'll do that very briefly. And then two is we just thought we'd give you a quick flavor of how some of our schools are being innovative and meeting students where they are. I have never been more proud to be affiliated with charter schools than I am right now at this moment, because I think our schools are doing some amazing things. So we'll get into that. We'll be very brief. Kelly's on the line, and I think we can take it from here. Kelly, do you have the controller?
I believe so. Good morning, President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and board members. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about the last 10 years of enrollment growth in charter schools. And what you see on the screen is about a decade of growth for charter schools. That's the blue line.
Hey,
and
Kelly, are you guys seeing it? I'm not seeing it. There we go.
Okay. Hopefully you can see a decade of growth for charter schools. from 2011 to 2020. These are October 1 enrollment figures. So that 2011 figure, school year 2011. So that's really October 1, 2010. But you can see that charter schools, the blue line grew from 123,000 and change to about 213. So we added about 90,000 students with a very nice gradual steady growth over the last decade. By comparisons, there was a bit of contraction in the district sector. It looks like they lost about 15,000 students over that same decade. This slide shows the market share. That is the percentage of charter schools as a function of the state K-12 population, public school population. So we started the decade at about 11.5%. And as of the 2020 school year, we were up to almost 19%, getting close to that 20% mark. This shows the diversity of that 90,000 students. The first bar there is the charter sector. And it just looks at what the student population was back in 2011 compared to 2020. And about more than 2/3 of the students that were added in charters would have identified themselves as a race or ethnicity other than white. So it's a diverse group of students, increasingly diverse, that's being added to charter schools. The majority of those students are Latino. And looking at our current enrollment and talking to folks, everything's kind of anecdotal and a lot of moving parts in this school year. But it looks like the trend will probably continue. All indications are that we are still headed towards that 20% market share and increasing some students. Jake?
Yep, and it is really schooled. We've got a lot of questions about what does enrollment look like during COVID-19, and as Kelly said, it's kind of bouncing around, so we're still working on that. But some of it is school to school too, different locations, and I know the districts have had a lot of challenges with enrollment and making sure students are showing up, attendance when it's online. So we'll get back to you all as we see different trends once we kind of see how this year sort of shakes out. But we've gotten a lot of questions on that. Madam President. This is really the exciting part of the presentation. Kelly, if you want to go to the next slide. It is not lost on any of us the challenges that both district and charter schools have faced, but this is from Heidi Mitchell. For those of you who don't know Heidi, she was one of the original operators of charter schools and is an amazing operator and runs an amazing school. But I just love this quote, or especially that last line. This was the equivalent of opening an entirely new school under a very short period of time, under very difficult circumstances. And I like to think that our schools have responded amazingly well. This presentation could be 3 hours, but we only picked a few highlights, but it is not relative to these specific schools. It is relative to the sector in general, in my view, of how they have responded during COVID-19 to help with students. So Kelly, if we go to the next slide, this will give you a taste. When you think of technology, here's an example of BASIS using a cart that teachers can use for online and in person, allowing them that flexibility to go back and forth. When you look at staffing, reprioritizing staffing so that when we are online, they're able to meet students where they are, freeing up teachers so they can be online, and having other campus people, whether it's folks that were working in food service that are now trying to do different things. It's been amazing to see how schools have been nimble and reacted. I was on a call yesterday with Superintendent Hoffman and some other school leaders, and I just noted the teachers have been amazing through this whole thing. And you can see in Great Heart's case, how much the students have the teachers have gone above and beyond during this crisis to make sure that they're doing everything they can to provide students the best education they can. Kelly, if we go to the next slide, other examples are supporting students with services. Here's an example of a school, Phoenix International Academy, where they're literally hand delivering to students' homes laptops and food. Imagine Schools, one of the bigger systems in the state, has been looking at delivering almost 500,000 meals in a 2-month period. It's just been really phenomenal the way that and the districts, I think a lot of them have done a really great job as well. If you look at technology in terms of Zoom and these things that we never even knew existed before, We have schools that are using YouTube and Zoom to try to connect students with parents, students with their teachers, office hours, and being able to post videos that students can look at when they have the time. Those are all a really fast pivot for a lot of schools. We've got some amazing AOIs in this state that have done a really great job additional to kind of that pivot that brick and mortar schools have had to do during this time. Kelly, if you want to flip to the next one. One of the neat things I saw was Arizona School for the Arts didn't stop their curriculum. That's obviously very art in music focused. And so they were still doing on Zoom and using technology to make sure their students could continue to do instruments and dance and the things that they really excel at. I think I saw something from one of the basic schools where they're dissecting frogs at home. Who would have thought in a million years a school would be doing that? And then the last thing I'll note, Madam President, is I think the schools have done a really good job of also pivoting to doing everything they can to be CDC compliant and to make sure that faculty and student safety is paramount during this difficult time. And we've partnered with a number of schools and vendors to make sure we have masks and the plexiglass and all the things that schools are doing. So I could do this for 5 hours, and there's a million examples of almost every school in our system going above and beyond and being nimble. But we thought, just given kind of coming up on Thanksgiving and talking with Ashley a little bit, it might be neat to just see a few examples of how they responded. Madam President and Ashley, just last thing I'll note is we have our annual conference, virtual conference coming up. We're excited about it. We want to extend an offer to all of you on the board to join us. It'll be kind of a 2-day quick thing. We know Zoom, sitting in front of a Zoom is never ideal for a long time, but a chance to connect, a chance to share best practices during these times, things that are working and not working. So board members, and then obviously Ashley, to you and your staff, we absolutely want to make sure you're invited and can participate as you can. We're really excited about some of our keynote speakers, our own Superintendent Hoffman, which will be great, the governor, Dr. Crow and Dr. Robbins from ASU and U of A, and then former Governor Jeb Bush, who's active in the education community at a national level, will join us as well. So again, we're grateful for your service. Ashley, thank you for all your team, but we're particularly grateful for our schools, who I think have just done an amazing job of responding under some of the most difficult circumstances they can. So we'll stop right there. Happy to answer any questions, and Madam Chairman, we'll get out of your way so you can continue your meeting.
Great, thank you. Board questions for Mr. Logan.
President Lee, this is Jim Swanson. Thank you for that presentation. I just have a quick question. It said, that you looking kind of more into the future because of COVID and how schools and districts have had to really reinvent themselves. Do you see that the growth, actually, it said steady and growing? My view, and I think that I think this board needs to understand, is I think it may be different than that. I think it may be growing and accelerating in the charter environment. Because of some of the flexibility and the services and the specialty things that charters can do that maybe districts can't do as quickly. What is the association's view on that?
Yeah, Madam President and Member Swanson, I agree. I think it'll be very interesting to see after this academic year if there's an acceleration towards charters or different models. We don't have any hard data yet, but I agree. And Madam President, and this is a whole nother meeting, but Madam President and Mr. Swanson, and I know Jim, in your role with GPL and other organizations, you really looked at school finance. I do think that there is a great dialogue that needs to continue in the state about how we look at the way schools are funded on the charter and district side from an equity standpoint for districts and charters, and just in general, is that system sustainable given the shift we've seen with school choice, not only the charters, but within district to district or district to charter. So more to come, Madam President, Mr. Swanson, and we'll keep you guys updated as we see data. And I know Superintendent Hoffman and her team can as well.
I appreciate that. And then just that, to the board, I think that means, just like we saw with that compliance matter last, is it's really time for us to make sure that we are holding schools accountable in expansion and new schools, that we're really looking at the best of the best to move this on. And I think it's a great opportunity. And then the state will face challenges because, as we all know, charters are funded completely out of the general fund. So I'm off my high horse now. Thanks.
President Lee, may I make a comment? This is Kathy Hoffman.
Sorry, I'm not, sorry. Yes, please go for it, Superintendent Hoffman.
I just wanted to thank Jake for the presentation, especially the pictures from the classrooms, because we keep saying and messaging out how innovative our schools and teachers are being through these difficult times, but to really see it in action and see the photos, I think was really powerful, really impactful. So I think for all of us in this role of leaders in education, I think we do need to keep telling that story and showing the pictures and keep working together, of course, to continue the services to all of our students, no matter which instructional model a school is currently using, whether it's distance learning, hybrid, or in person. I do think we need to just keep working together on telling the story, because it's just absolutely incredible what our schools have been able to achieve since March. So thank you, Jake.
Yeah, thank you, Superintendent Hoffman, for those comments. And Jake, as always, thank you guys for all the hard work you do. And thank you, Kelly. I don't know if you're still on the line, but for making the data easily readable to us all. So we really appreciate that. So
Thank you.
all right, going on to item G, call to the public. There were actually no public comments submitted or requests to speak. So we'll go ahead and go on to the consent agenda. Board members, are there any board members that need to recuse themselves or want to remove an item? And if not, let's just wait a few minutes for board members to respond. And if not, go ahead and do the motion, please.
President Lee, this is Hans.
Please.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Great. Is there a second?
Second, Carol Crockett.
Thank you, Dr. Crockett. Alexis, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on. Agenda item I, Casa Academy enrollment cap evaluation by Rachel.
President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and board members, Casa Academy has submitted an amendment request to increase its enrollment cap from 275 to 462 for fiscal year 2022. The increase is to accommodate the additions of grades 4th through 6th in alignment with the charter's growth and expansion plan over the next 3 years. The charter holder does not meet the staff recommendation criteria because the charter holder is currently operating at 51% of its current enrollment cap of 275, and based on past enrollment trends, it will not exceed its enrollment cap in fiscal year 21 or 22. It is important to note that this data does not account for the charter holder's ability to enroll more students due to a new facility in the coming year and the addition of additional grade levels in fiscal year 2022. It is also important to note that this charter only served grades K through 2 in fiscal year 2019, so AZ merit data does not exist for this charter. I know the charter holder is on the line and available to answer any questions you may have, as am I.
Thank you, Rachel. Board members, are there any Rachel on the line? Okay, and then if not, is there a representative from the charter? If so, if you could please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and if you have any statements.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam President, Superintendent Hoffman, and thank you to the board as well. My name is Tacey Clayton-Cundy. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Casa Academy. I have a few key items that I'd like to highlight and speak to regarding Casa's amendment request. These include enrollment, academic data, and Casa's success through the COVID-19 pandemic. First, regarding enrollment, it's important to note that we have intentionally kept our enrollment target at 150 through the previous school year and increased it to 200 for the 2020-21 school year. That's because prior to the current school year, we were limited by the amount of physical space available in the church we were leasing from. We have since moved to a new leased space for the current school year and purchased an approximately 28,000 square foot building with room to grow into. This year, we are completing construction on the new building to ensure it is ready for the start of the 2021-22 school year. Additionally, we plan to implement a slow growth model, adding only one grade level per year and growing slowly up from K3 this year to eventually expand to 8th grade. This is important so that we can do things well. Enrollment is also a strength historically for Casa Academy. Every year since opening doors, with the exception of the current school year, we have exceeded our internal enrollment targets at the beginning of the year, anywhere from 108 to 126% of our targeted enrollment. This year, enrollment has been challenging, not only at Casa Academy, but at many other schools across our city, state, and country due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is the first year in Casa's history that we have not met our enrollment target. If we had hit or exceeded our target of 200 to 264 scholars this year, we would be at 85% of our enrollment cap. Second, I'd like to touch on Casa Academy's internal academic data. While Casa does not have statewide academic data currently, since we have been K2 for the past several years, we are laser focused on our internal academic data, and in particular, making sure that our scholars are making significant academic growth throughout the school year. We know that the low-income population that we serve typically enters Casa multiple years below grade level, and our job is to help them make the growth necessary to be successful academically and get caught up to grade level. As a former teacher and now a school leader, strong academic data has always been a top priority for me and for Casa Academy. In the 2018-19 school year, our scholars met both of our internal academic goals, making a strong year of growth on our STEP reading assessment, which is one of the most rigorous literacy assessments on the market. Additionally, our scholars averaged 88% in math on our internal common formative assessments, which are aligned to the rigor of the state standards. In the 2019-20 school year, at mid-year, we were on track to have our most successful academic year yet. Scholars had on average exceeded over a half year of growth in reading and averaged 87% on math common formative assessments to date. Unfortunately, due to the governor's mandate to close schools for the end of the school year due to COVID-19, we were unable to collect data at the end of that school year due to the nature of the assessments we administer. Finally, I'd like to highlight Casa's continued focus on academics and dedication to our scholars throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. In March, when schools were forced to close doors, we immediately started working on plans for the future. We recorded lessons for our scholars to start and rushed to order technology so that our scholars could participate in online learning. We have ensured that 100% of our scholars have access to technology such as computers and tablets, ensure that 100% of our scholars have internet access, providing internet access through hotspots to those who needed it. And we've been providing direct instruction via Zoom so that all of our scholars are taught in live time by their teachers for the majority of the school day this year. Knowing the needs of our student population, we've also strategically incorporated intervention blocks throughout our day, including online learning. We've been back on campus in person since our fall break and are currently operating a model that includes options for both in-person and online learning so that we're truly meeting the needs of all of our scholars and families. Despite the challenges this pandemic has placed on our staff and scholars, we have strategically worked to ensure our scholars are making necessary growth and getting caught up to grade level as quickly as possible. Thank you for your time today, and I'd be happy to answer any further questions that you may have.
Thank you. Board members, are there any questions? Okay. Yeah, I think Ms. Clayton, you did a great job. I actually had a question about the data that you guys currently have. What's the benchmarking system that you guys are using?
So we use the STEP benchmark assessment for reading, and then we've created internal assessments for math, common formative assessments that are aligned to the rigor of the state standards. So those are internally created.
Great. Okay. Board members, I have no concerns. And if there's no other questions, is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans.
Rachel Yana. Oh,
go ahead, Rachel.
Thanks. Sorry. Thanks, Chairwoman. I just wanted to say really quickly, kudos to CASA for coming prepared and having thought through what to do in lieu of a state assessment. I also just want to say that I want to give the board credit. I think often when we read these reports and sort of summaries really quickly, the language feels really dry, like there is no data. And I think that there is significant data, and I appreciate that both the board and the charter providers go out of their way to provide data when state tests and mandates don't require it. And so I just want to illuminate the maybe possibility of some change in language so that we don't have something that looks like there is no data when there is significant amounts of data being produced by both the charter holders themselves and being asked for by our board in lieu of just one state test. So just a comment for consideration for everyone, but also to all of the CASA community for being really thoughtful about knowing that data is important even when it's not required by a federal mandate or a state mandate. So thanks, everyone.
Great, thank you. Okay, with that, is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans. I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to increase the enrollment cap from 275 to 462 in FY 2022 for the contract of Casa Academy.
Is there a second?
Second, Carol Crockett.
Thank you, Dr. Crockett. Alexis, could you do the roll call, please?
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
I'm going to recuse myself from this vote. On hearing the presentation, it occurred to me that one of my divisions may be involved with the construction for their new building, and I don't, while the plan is great, I don't think I should vote on this. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Legacy Traditional School Surprise and a presentation by Rachel.
Okay, first I'm going to apologize in advance for any background noise because the landscapers just started right outside my window. So, Legacy Traditional School Surprise has submitted an amendment to add an Arizona online instruction program to its charter. If approved, the program will serve grades K through 8. This request was reviewed for substantive completeness by Rio Salato. This includes evaluating the submission against a rubric and demonstrating proficiency with the AOI program through a virtual demonstration. Legacy Traditional School Surprise met the scoring expectations of the rubric and Rio Salato's team. I'm available for any questions if you have them, and I do know representatives of the charter are on the Zoom call.
Great. Board members, any questions for Rachel? Okay. If not, if there's a representative from Legacy Traditional School Surprise, if you would like to unmute yourself and make a statement, now's the time.
Good morning, Madam President, Superintendent Hoffman, and members of the board. My name is Anastasia Hawkins, and I am our Compliance Director here at Vertex Education. Also present with me this morning is our Chief Academic Officer, Ms. Nicole Kirkley. And I just wanted to start out by saying that we are thrilled to finally be able to speak with you guys this morning in regards to our Arizona online instruction application. This would give us the opportunity to potentially bring our academic program to more families here in Arizona through our online platform. Additionally, this would allow us to continue our mission to support Arizona students and families. We're really, really excited, and we're here to answer any questions you have, so please let us know.
Great. Board members, are there any questions? Okay. And just really fast, are you planning on doing the you're doing the distance learning program this year, and then you'll start your AOI for next year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. I see a recommendation. I don't have any concerns. Board members, if there's no other questions, then is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans. I'll make a motion. I move I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to amend the charter contract of Legacy Traditional School Surprise to add a probationary online school under ARS 15-808 to serve grades K through 8 beginning in FY 2022.
Is there a second?
Second, Carol Crockett.
Thank you, Dr. Crockett. Alexis with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so very much. And while I have one more second, I just wanted to echo Mr. Logan's comments that communication with the board has been incredible, and we really appreciate anytime we have questions. I can always get a hold of staff, whether by email or by phone. So we are very, very appreciative of it.
Awesome. Thank you for that comment. It's good to hear. All right. Agenda item J1, Copper State Academy. Rachel, you're up.
Copper State Academy has submitted a request to the board for a good cause extension. The entity's new charter application was approved by the board in December of 2019. Due to delays caused by the COVID pandemic in securing facilities, Copper State Academy is requesting an extension for the signing and execution of its charter contract to finalize securing a facility and executing a lease with the intent of opening its school in Phoenix in August of 2021. I am available for any questions, and I'm not certain there is a representative on the line today. This entity is mostly teachers, and they may be in the classroom today.
Great. Board members, are there any questions for Rachel? Okay. Is there a representative from Copper State Academy? If so, now's the time to unmute yourself and introduce yourself. We'll just give it a few seconds. Okay. If not, this seems fairly technical in nature, and so I feel comfortable approving this. Is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans.
Yes.
I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to grant a good cause extension to Copper State Academy for the signing and execution of their charter contract.
Second, Carol Crockett.
Thank you, Dr. Crockett. Alexis, the roll call.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye, sorry, homeschooling.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, up next, Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy.
Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy has submitted a request to the board for a good cause extension as well. The entity's new charter application was approved by the board in December of 2019. Due to delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic in securing facilities, Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy is requesting a 6-week extension for the signing and execution of its charter contract to finalize facility negotiations with the intent of opening its school in Page in August of 2021. I do know there is a representative of this charter on the line, and I am also available for questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you. So if there's a representative from Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy, now's the time to unmute yourself and introduce yourself. And if you'd like to make sure you state your name for the record, and then if you have any sort of statement, now's the time.
Thank you. This is Susan Pilkington. And thank you, Madam President, Superintendent Hoffman, and distinguished members of the board. We are just asking that you consider a 6-week extension for us signing our charter agreement due to securing facilities, as Rachel said. We are in the final stages of negotiations with our lease terms for securing that facility, and we just feel that we need a little bit more time to make those negotiations.
Thank you. Board members, are there any questions? Okay, with that, is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans.
Yes.
I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to grant a good cause extension to Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy for the signing and execution of their charter contract.
Is there a second?
Second, this is Carol Crockett.
Thank you. Alexis, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you for being here. All right. Item J3, Liberty Leadership Academy. Rachel.
Liberty Leadership Academy has submitted a request to the board for a good cause extension. The entity's new charter application was approved by the board in December of 2019. Due to delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic in securing facilities, a need to examine options for instructional delivery, and struggles with marketing and recruiting during a pandemic, Liberty Leadership Academy is requesting an extension for the signing and execution of its charter contract with a projected opening date of August of 2022. And I am available for questions. I believe there is a representative on the line, but I am not certain about that.
Yes, there are two of us.
Okay, perfect. If you guys would state your name for the record and if you have any statement for the board.
Mary Miller, CEO, and Rachel Dubian, founder of Liberty Leadership Academy. Rachel Hanna stated our request very succinctly, so unless there are other questions, we'll cede it to you.
Board members, are there any questions? Okay. Yeah, I don't either. So is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans. I move, based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today, to approve the request to grant a good cause extension to Liberty Leadership Academy for the signing and execution of their charter contract.
Second, Carol Crockett.
Dr. Crockett? Well, let's use the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett, Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Wright,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Guys, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, going on, we already took agenda item K, so we will go ahead and go to agenda item L, rulemaking, and I believe Andrea is up.
Yes. Good morning, President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and members of the board. During fiscal year 2020, the board implemented its new financial performance framework. Based on lessons learned during the first year of implementation, staff is proposing changes to the financial framework rules. In addition, staff is proposing rule revisions to improve transparency regarding consequences for untimely financial report submissions to the Arizona Department of Education, and revisions to remove references to ASBCS Online and, as applicable, replace them with more generic references due to possible restructuring of the board's online interfaces. Today's staff is seeking board approval to finalize the proposed rules found in the Notice of Final Exempt Rulemaking included with the meeting materials. Should the board approve the rules today, the Notice of Final Exempt Rulemaking will be filed with the Secretary of State's office for publication. During the first opportunity for public comment, which closed on October 26th, the board received written comment from 3 stakeholders. Today's meeting provides a second opportunity for public comment required under the board's procedures. Board staff has addressed the public comment in the Notice of Final Exempt Rulemaking included with today's meeting materials. In item 11 of the notice's preamble, the written comment received by the board is identified as well as analysis in the board's response. Item 10 of the preamble identifies other changes that were made. Generally, the other changes were made to align with current board processes or were technical or clarifying in nature. I am available for questions.
Board members, are there any questions for Andrea?
Madam Chairman, this is Eric. I'm happy to make a motion.
Yes, please.
I move to approve the notice of final exempt rulemaking found in the board materials and presented today, and direct staff to update paragraph 11 of the rulemaking notice's preamble to reflect today's second opportunity for public comment, and to file the notice of final rulemaking with the Secretary of State's Office for publication. To ensure its timely publication, the board authorizes staff to make any technical or formatting changes to the rulemaking notice as required by the Secretary of State's Office.
Is there a second?
Second, Carol Crockett.
Thank you, Dr. Crockett. Alexis, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, agenda item M. Andrea, thank you so much for that. Communications plan. Serena.
Thank you. Good morning, President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and members of the board. Over the last several months, with help from our intern, Taylor Skevington, who you will hear from shortly, we have developed the board's first official communications plan. The Arizona State Board for Charter Schools has authorized over 600 schools since its establishment in 1996. Currently, there are 400 plus charters and 500 plus charter schools under the board's purview. It is important that the general public, charter operators, state leaders, and other stakeholders, such as our fellow education agencies and education organizations, receive correct information regarding our charter portfolio and the work of the board. Therefore, the communications plan was built with several goals in mind: to increase awareness of the board and its functions, to inform the public about how charter schools operate and are held accountable, and to correct long-standing misconceptions surrounding the charter sector. These goals will be accomplished by proactively providing information through published media, social media, and ongoing communications. Over the past year, board staff has increased and improved communications to its stakeholders. Board staff will continue to publish its monthly newsletter, which features updates on board action, news, and events from other education agencies and organizations, and reminders for our charter operators of submission deadlines, meeting dates, and more. The newsletter listserv currently has over 650 subscribers and is growing every month. Published media is currently one of the most common outlets by which the general public learns about charter schools and the charter sector. Board staff will focus on building stronger, more open lines of communication with journalists in the hope that reporting is informed by accurate, up-to-date information. Additionally, outreach is imperative to the success of the communications plan. Therefore, board staff will work collaboratively with stakeholders around the state to proactively provide information and expertise so that accurate information is used to help inform decisions that will impact the work of the board and the success of its charter portfolio. Another major component of the plan is our social media strategy, which Taylor will now speak to.
Good morning, President Lee, Superintendent Hoffman, and board members. As charter schools grow, both in number and in enrollment, the board would benefit greatly from an increased social media presence to bring awareness to its functions, the charter portfolio, and accountability measures. With a strong social media presence, the board will be able to engage with the general public on a variety of topics that concern charter schools. Currently, the board has a Facebook page, but will shortly begin working on content for Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Content will consist of board members' introductions, staff member highlights, infographics about charter sectors, facts and figures, and more. Social media platforms will be maintained and controlled by the Public Relations Manager, Serena, with oversight by the Executive Director. Social media is a wide-reaching avenue for communicating to the general public. Utilizing social media will allow the board to be more accessible, create greater levels of transparency, and engage with a broader audience than ever before.
Thank you, Taylor. Just so the board knows, Taylor has been working under me as our board intern for the last several months. He's currently set to graduate from ASU. So congratulations, Taylor. It is his last day with the board as well. Board staff will begin implementing the communications plan over the next month with a full rollout planned for January 2021. And I'm available for any questions.
You board members, are there any questions?
Ashley, this is Eric. Go ahead, Jim.
Sorry, no, I just compliment the staff on putting this together. I think it's will do good for the charter schools. Thanks.
Mr. Twist?
I think it will too. I just have some questions, probably based on some concerns. But Ashley, could you just speak to how we're going to, I guess, the processes by which we determine what is posted? What are the parameters around that? You know, especially as we move on through the years and maybe the original intent is lost. Is there a way for us to have an understanding of content parameters and maybe even drill down into how the board intends to use a platform like Instagram versus Twitter or LinkedIn? What are the strategies there? I'd be more comfortable with this. Not that I want to slow you down, but just if there was clarity around content management, the purposes of that content, how responses will be managed, and you know, interactions and other things. What's the rule of engagement that the board staff has for their presence on these social media platforms? So if the board could get a little more clarity on those rules, those internal rules or controls, I think it'd be the responsible thing to do.
Absolutely, Madam President and Mr. Twist, you're absolutely correct. We do need to have internal controls as we move forward on the social media platforms, and we do. So what that will look like is Serena and potentially an intern will work on putting together content, and I will be the final approval before that content is released through social media. So we do have those internal controls and review prior to posting. The communications and the content that will be distributed are specific to the board. Providing accurate information as to what our board processes are, how we hold schools accountable, the success of our portfolio, who our charters are serving. It truly is just providing facts. This is, I should be clear, you know, our board is going to stay in our lane as a regulatory body. We will not be advocating for charters. We will not be stepping in that lane, but more so trying to put out accurate information and misconceptions about our work and about the charter portfolio itself from a factual standpoint. And we do have.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, one, Ashley, that's great. It'd be really good to see that written down, and I would love it. Maybe other board members would love to just take a look at what everything you just said, sort of in written form. I'm just a little worried that on these platforms that it sort of opens up the board to having to spend an inordinate amount of time of dealing with anti-charter critics and those that as you're trying to defend, in a sense, like you said, what the charter board is doing and bring clarity to it, it does open you up to spending, again, time on these platforms in a format that isn't really conducive to civil discourse and truth seeking. And so I just think it behooves staff to be really clear about what happens when the charter staff or the board is attacked on social media platforms, and what the rules of engagement are for that. I just think it's really good to reflect on that now, write it down, and so that we can all hold one another accountable to the way in which the engagement will take place when maybe it turns into something that the board didn't intend or solicited or wanted.
So, Mr. Twist, just to provide clarification, are you indicating that you don't want them to move forward with any sort of, new social media account until they have a written policy to present in front of the board?
No, I think I don't want to slow down staff. I trust Ashley and I trust the team. I just think, Ashley obviously had really good answers to the question. And so I just think it'd be good to codify those in written form. And Ashley, if you could just think a little bit further just about what the rules of engagement after a post is live and sort of how those things take shape in the public square digitally. I think that would be a good next step, but I'm not trying to be a naysayer here or anything. I'm just trying to help the board staff think about where these things can end up, and are we prepared from an internal control standpoint to know how to deal with those with wisdom.
Right. No, thank you, Mr. Twist. And I agree, right? We have to have a good plan in place. I definitely trust Ashley, as you do, and the board that they've thought about this. I think I'd be a little bit more weary in wanting to see something maybe officially approved if we hadn't already been successfully doing the Facebook page. I know we've been doing those posts. I'm assuming that the posts are going to be similar to what we're already doing on the Facebook page, just on multiple social media platforms versus just the one. Is that correct, Ashley?
That is.
For Serena. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Eric, I think that's great thought. And I don't want to delay any of this. So if you're comfortable or if the board's comfortable, I'd like to, Ashley, I don't think we have to make a motion on this. Is that correct?
Madam President, that is correct. This was being provided to you and to the public for just general awareness and discussion.
Okay. Ashley, are you going to create some sort of maybe internal policy or, and policy might be too strong of a word, right? But some sort of, for reaction, exactly what Mr. Twist said is, right, it's always easy to put the posts out, but then what happens as far as like whether or not you're going to have commenting on or off or, things like that. Have you come up with those kind of internal policies yet?
Yes, we have been working through those.
Okay. And those will be set in place, I'm assuming, before the actual launching of the Twitter and all the other platforms I can't think of that you guys are gonna do, LinkedIn or whatnot.
Yes.
Okay. Board members, are there any other questions or comments about that? Okay. All right. And Mr. Twist, thank you for those comments. I think it's really good stuff to think about when we delve into the realm of social media. All right, so moving on, agenda item N, summary of current events. Ashley.
Madam President and board members, I have nothing to report.
Okay, and when's our next meeting date, Ashley?
It is December, let me get that exact date, December 15th, and that is a Tuesday.
That's right, okay. Okay, well, if there's no questions, it doesn't sound like there are, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.